How's it going, everyone? Tonight on the Straight Volt, we're going to be talking about these MXJO batteries. Okay, so MXJO, more or less, pretty much a new brand on the market. And what are they really? Well, we're going to get to the bottom of it right now through the graphing to understand exactly what is going on with them and what they are. Furthermore, we're going to be discussing more into the semantics of different kinds of words and things like that, and really want to dig deep into more understanding of parallel setups. Okay, so first and foremost, let's get to the graphs first. Hopefully you guys can switch over to 1080p in HD so that like you can see this as clearly as possible. So here's the graph over here. Okay, now as always, when you graph the full milliamp hours of said battery, okay, the parameters that you must set is going to be at half an amp draw, and then you have to cut it off at 2.8. Okay, now the rest of the real world numbers or whatever is up to us to apply. So first of all, over here, the green line is exactly what the milliamp hours promised over here is, and we finish over here at a 97.5%. So it finishes over here at the graph, okay, giving us 2.4379 milliamp. And over here is the blue line is graphed at 5 amps, and then the red line is graphed at 10 amps over here. Now, what I want to make known, okay, is that do you guys understand breaking in, like kind of like breaking in a car, breaking in shoes, breaking in stuff? Okay, so when batteries are 100% new, okay, then they have a certain internal resistance. Okay, as you use the batteries, the internal resistance goes up. Now, the test that I do is going to be a heavy stress test on it. So basically, after I've tested them, okay, they are broken in. I wouldn't say they're worn or used or, you know, they're pretty much dead. They are considered broken in. Okay, so when you see the 20 amps over here, okay, when you have a brand new battery and you run it at 20 amps the first time, okay, it will give you something very close to what the red line is over here. And then afterwards, okay, you've ran it and the internal resistance has gone up. These lines over here, right, is going to give you what they pretty much perform at after they've been used for a little while. So both graphs are real. Okay, so if I show you a couple of batteries that, like, you know, it's a brand new battery and then we just graphed exactly what it is at 20 amps, we could graph it the one time, and then afterwards when we put it back on the charger we graph it again, the curve is not going to be the same anymore. It's not going to be such a godly curve anymore. Okay, so when I show you something like of the green Emrins and stuff like that, you know, the curve of it was pretty nice the first time, but then it's not going to be the same anymore. Okay, so once it's used for a little bit, then this is what the MXJO is going to look like, as well as a lot of batteries out in the market. Okay, but for the most part, what we can understand about this is that, like, even though the MXJO over here, it says 2,500 mAh at 35 amps being the pulse rating, because it's supposed to be a 20 amp battery. The 10 amps over here, right, still gives us a whopping 84.2%. Okay, so really running these batteries at half of what their ratings are or whatever, like let's say the continuous is 20 amps, right? Running it at like 10 amps or whatever is still pretty darn healthy regardless of the internal resistance. Okay, but once you're, you know, stressing it and stressing it, because look, it's rated for up to 20 amps continuous, right? So when you run it at 20 amps continuous, you're riding the battery very hard. You know what I mean? Of course, you know, it's rated so that it's able to handle it, but still we're riding the battery very hard, because when you continuously stress the battery at 20 amps, this thing goes up to be very hot. Okay, you're talking about, like, you know, almost 100 degrees Fahrenheit on the batteries, and it's just hot enough so that, like, you know, you really can't hold it in your hand because it's so warm. Okay, so let me go ahead and show you like a couple of other lines over here so that we have a better idea of exactly what a MXJO is, all right? So let me show you a couple of the other graphs that I've had over here, and this one is going to be very interesting, okay? So this is a purple EFES, this line over here, and then this is an MXJO. So I want to go ahead and unhide this test so that you could see exactly how this one graphs. Okay, and then this is a Samsung 25R, and you can see how nicely a Samsung 25R graphs on the 5 amp, and then you can see what the purple EFES is, and the MXJO kind of falls a little bit short of it, but their curve is very, very similar. While you could tell that the Samsung INR battery, the curve is completely different than the other guys. Okay, so what can we deduct from this? Okay, basically an MXJO battery is just like a purple EFES. They are not top shelf bin HE2s. If you really want like the HE2 specs and stuff like that, then you're just better off getting yourself some red HE2s. And they're going to perform exactly like the purple EFES, if not a little bit better, because that's exactly how these China companies make money. You know what I mean? They take HE2s, they take like all sorts of like, you know, outdated batteries and stuff like that, lower shelf bins and stuff, rewrap them, and then, you know, give it the same claims as this, if not higher, right? And you know, it kind of bugs me because it's a bunch of companies that are like, you know, taking inferior batteries and then posting, you know, they're rated at like 1,000 amps, like 1,000,000 milliamps, or, you know, like the numbers are just out of this world, right? Versus a lot of the other stuff that is a little bit more trusted, right? When I show you the different battery tests over here, let me show you something real quick. Let's go over to these tests over here. Okay, so this one over here is a HE4. HE4 batteries are lined in yellow, so let me just go ahead and change that to yellow. This was the green IMRIN, right? And then so we should make this one green over here. And then this is the Samsung 25R. So let's unhide this one. This was the HE2, right? And then this is the this is the EFES, and okay, so we're gonna hide this one, hide this, and hide this because we don't need to see those. Okay, so these are all the 20 amp ratings. All right, the HE4 over here, okay, not that much of a kick, but gives us the most amp hours all the way to the end over here. Okay, so I would recommend this item for your mid-range regulated devices because it's going to give you that much vape time. While the green IMRINs over here is going to give you a nice kick in like your mechanical mods, but as far as like battery life, it's going to fall short compared to a Samsung 25R or an HE4. And then the HE2s over here, which was the red HE2s. So using them in the beginning, right, they perform pretty nice, better than the HE4, better than like a lot of stuff. But then what happens is that somewhere around here, the heat, it can't handle the heat, and then it begins to wig out, and then it falls the shortest. Okay, so depending on how we're using stuff, fresh off the charge, you take 2 puffs or whatever, the HE2 is going to taste like it hits the hardest. The green IMRINs is going to follow later on. But as you're using the batteries on and on and on, okay, as the internal resistance goes up, as you're using them in your regulated devices and progressing on like 2 or 3 months down the road, the HE4s is going to outperform any of these batteries in the mid-range level. Okay, so just something to know after stuff has been, you know, graphed and proven over here. I want to put out there for you guys, okay, that as we said before, there is no such thing as the magical battery. Okay, do not walk around asking people like, hey, what battery should I get? And that's that. There is no one magical battery. It depends what your application is, right? And basically, we've broken it down to pretty much 3 to 4 types of batteries. Okay, if we had to go with battery A, B, and C, because I don't want to say like battery 1, battery 2, battery 3, because it'll seem as if like 1 is superior to number 2 and then 2 superior to number 3. We want to go with like A, B, C, so that like, you know, we just talking about like 3 totally different things. Okay, so battery A, right, would be somewhere around like your 10 amp battery that does like a ton of milliamps, right? So like your Panasonic NCR, you know, series with the 3200 mAh. So that would be like a 18650 BD, right? Is it DB or BD? Oh, one of those. Okay, so that one does 3200 milliamp hours and then 10 amps, right? Also, the LG MH1 also does the same specs of 3200 and then 10 amps, right? So then a mid-range battery would be exactly like what all these wars are going on, right? With the MXJO, the green Imrans, the red HE2s, purple EFES and stuff like that, which is the whole promise, 2,500 milliamp hours or 2,600 milliamp hours, and then somewhere around the 20 amp rating, right? So that would be your mid-range battery. Samsung 25Rs also in the running for that. And then what you have is your very, very heavy battery, right? Which is all about, who cares what the milliamp hour is? I need this thing to support high drain, which at the moment the highest drain that we found right now as far as continuous goes would be 30 amps, okay? So you want a 30 amp battery would be like your Type C. The Type B battery would be like your HE4s, HE2s, 25Rs and stuff like that. And then your big battery would be like a MH1 or a BD. So the reason why I bring this up, okay, is because it's very apparent and obvious right now that there's so much confusion going on with batteries at the moment, okay? And as new battery comes out, we definitely need to shop for them. We definitely need to test for them, and to make sure that, like, you know, the popular ones right now, are they superior or are they not? Should we be switching to something else? Meaning that, like, for batteries type A, B, and C, you know, let's say the Samsung 25R was the standard for the mid-range battery, right? So that's the Type B battery. But now here comes along the HE4, and it's showing us that it could drag out much longer in a fight against the Samsung, all right? So if I went ahead and hid this test and then hid this one, oh, no, sorry, not that one. This one over here, so that we can only see the HE4 versus the baby blue 25Rs over here, right? You could see that the HE4s beat out the Samsung 25R in every single way, both in kick and in lifespan. So this would be the new kid on the block. So you know how they say, like, so the HE4s is the new 25Rs, right? So that would take the place of what the battery B should be. So again, right, I bring this up because I don't want to just be like, hey, these batteries cannot be trusted, those batteries cannot be trusted, Sony VTCs, there's a whole bunch of fake ones floating out there, blah, 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 whatever, and then at the same time not offer a solution. You know what I mean? I don't want to leave you guys in the dark where like damn, Peg, like, we can't trust anything, what do we do? Okay, this is what we do. Okay, so I'm gonna be featuring a couple of kick-ass batteries, right? And if you guys want to get your hands on them, you know what I mean, I will help you guys out to do that. But before we do so, I would definitely, you know, graph everything first so that, like, you could see absolutely for sure that they are superior batteries, right? I hope nobody is. I don't want to use the word butthurt because this is the internet and, you know, it's so commonly used, but I want to say, like, I hope nobody's feelings are hurt with this series of, like, you know, the MXJOs and the Vamped and stuff like that, because there are many people who are, like, you know, a fan of a certain brand or whatever. Hopefully some of you can, like, you know, hopefully most of you can all feel the same way, right? Which is, who cares what the brand is? If they are the new superior batteries, then give it to me. You know what I mean? Because that's how I feel about it. You know, I could be a fan of Samsung, I could be a fan of LG, but at the end of the day, if like all the charts are proving to me that like, you know, the LG is superior to the Samsung, then, you know, it's time to go with the LG until Samsung makes its move to you know, and decides to top that. So okay, let's move on to something else. And the thing is that like what I really want to talk about is the parallel setups and some semantics. Okay, so let's move over to another camera. All right, guys. So now let's get into the whole parallel setups and semantics. Okay, meaning the wording of things. Okay. Last time when I did a whole parallel and series thing, ended up getting a lot of other questions and things like that of other people saying different things. Now, there's going to be many times, right, where I need people to realize that we're all on the same page, or we're all in agreement about something, except that I'm saying it this way and you're saying it that way, and maybe we don't exactly agree on the way that we're saying it, but at the end of the day, we're both saying the same things. Okay, so let's begin over here. Okay, now I have a Dimitri mod in my hand, right, and this is a mechanical mod, right? Now, these things are a little bit safer than all of the other box mods that are out there, because this is a full mechanical mod, so you don't have to worry about the whole, like, you know, can the switch handle blah 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 whatever. Okay, now last time when we spoke about like series and parallel and stuff, right, the wording of things is very important. Okay, so we said, right, that like when the batteries is stacked in series, then the volts will double. Okay, so meaning that, like, you know, if you had nominal 3.7 voltage, now nominal would be the whole I'm sorry, 3.7 7.4, sorry. Okay, then, right, we also said that over here that when things are stacked in parallel next to each other, okay, then what happens is that the amps, all right, would double. Okay, some people say no, the amps don't double because etc., right? Instead, what happens is that it's spread between the two batteries and stuff like that. Okay, so both is actually correct, but one is more accurate than the other. Right? Now, when we go ahead and say, like, okay, so I got a 20 amp battery and a 20 amp battery, right? Therefore, I just doubled the amperage over here, so up to 40 amps. Okay, that's kind of like a quick way of saying something. It's not accurate of saying it, but it's just like a quick way of saying it, and it's not wrong at the same time. Okay, for instance, you could argue, right, that like, dude, putting more batteries in there, right, does not, like, you know, create more amperage or whatever. It's the atomizer that you build and the draw that it creates, that's where the amperage is really coming from. Okay, that's true too. Also, when we say that, like, when you have two batteries in there, right, and when you double stuff, okay, that is under the assumption that both batteries are going to be the exact same batteries. But we all know that you're supposed to marry batteries together, so that's kind of like a no-brainer. But had we, you know, if you want to nerd out and nitpick or whatever, then what happens is that, like, the true correct way, right, just like what Mass Blast has said on his show, is that, you know, it spreads between the two batteries. Because let's say we had another battery inside, right? Like this is a 20 amp and then this is a 10 amp. The load would spread between the two batteries. But this one is 20 and this one is 10. So does that mean that we have 40? No. It means that we have 30? No. You know what I mean? This one's going to be able to handle up to 10 and this one's going to be able to handle up to 20. And the load is going to spread between the batteries whether we like it or not. Do you guys follow that? So in a way, kind of, sort of, it's like both statements are not wrong. One statement is more accurate than the other depending on the way you want to nerd out. So it's really up to you. Do you want to argue the semantics of the words or not? But at the end of the day, you know, everything is spread out between the two batteries. Now, to prove it, okay, I'm going to show you the voltage drop on these things, okay? So this is another quick lesson that I want to show people as far as, like, box mods are concerned, because you're going to watch a lot of different kind of reviews of different kinds of box mods saying that, like, this one hits hard, that one hits hard, this one hits hard, copper mods hit hard, blah, 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 whatever, okay? And I want to give you the whole gist of what's going on, of the whole yes and no. It's true and it's not true, like, all at the same time. It's the way people word stuff of how accurate something is, okay? So let's begin. With me, I have the parallel box mod over here, mechanical, and then a copper nemesis over here, right? Doesn't hit harder than a copper mod, right? So copper nemi right here. Then I have an ohm meter over here, and then I have a inline meter, as well as a Vulcan built to, like, 0.4 or something like that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put this little guy on and then show you exactly what the build is. So it's going to be clocking in at 0.42, right? So 0.42, reasonably low, so that, like, whatever your batteries is at, right? Like, once you fire it, it's going to significantly drop down, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and put the inline meter over here, and I have a pair of crappy purple EFES, whatever, okay, right? Right now, this is 4.13, okay, with no ADDI or whatever. That's just what the charge of the batteries is, right? So I'm going to remove this little guy and then put it on the mech mod over here, and hopefully I have a charge of similar reading. Like, yeah, sweet, okay. So 4.13. So single battery inside of a copper mod over here, and then this is your Dimitri mod, and the Dimitri mod has, like, you know, silver contacts at the bottom, copper over here, copper button, blah 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 blah, whatever. Who gives a shit? You know, like, I never, like, look too deeply into this stuff. Does it matter? Yeah, kind of, sort of matters, but still, at the end of the day, construction, and there's a lot of other factors that go into, like, how hard a mod hits, okay? So what I'm going to do is that now we're going to put the meter back onto the Dimitri mod over here, and then I'm going to put the atomizer on. So it was 4.13 before, right? Okay, and then I'm going to fire it for you guys. So it's 3.58 right here, okay? And it's holding solid 3.58, right? Because what happens is that, like, it's split between the two batteries. So what I'm going to do is that here I'm going to intentionally release one of the batteries on the inside, so that basically is just firing one battery now, okay? And then we fire this. See that? 3.5. Immediately drops 3.49, okay? Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to release this one and then slap it onto the copper mod. Okay, screw this down tight. Okay, you guys look. Okay, it's just the way, you know, the nature of it is. Okay, so when you compare, you know, a copper mod, right, versus like a regular stainless tube, and then you just say like, oh, this thing hits so much harder or whatever, then it's just simply because, you know, it's copper versus stainless. Now, when you're talking about like, you know, these parallel box mods and stuff like that, and how much harder they're hitting and whatever compared to like, you know, the regular single tube mods or whatever, it's simply just because that it is a parallel setup. And what happens in the parallel setup is that the voltage drop is being shared between the two batteries. So if you had a triple parallel setup, then the voltage drop would be shared between the three batteries, so that, like, you know, it will give you significantly less voltage drop, less voltage drop, less voltage drop, depending on, you know, what the stack that you have on the inside of these mods. Okay, so in the future, guys, you know, let's not go with like the hype of, oh, it hits hard and then that's it. You know what I mean? It's more like knowing why it hits hard, and reasonably, you know what I mean? Like arguably it hits harder than like something else, but because of the nature of how it's set up. I hope you've taken away something again this time, all right? And next time we'll talk more about like other brands of batteries. And let me know in the description below, right? Would you like to get your hands on all the premium batteries that are out there, depending on different kinds of application? And what do you guys think about the whole setup of, you know, battery type A, B, and C? If that is something that you guys agree with, you know, maybe we could build more from there. Okay, so until next time, guys, question everything, do your homework, and vape clever. Take care, y'all.